Hello, hi. Thank you so much for joining. We'll just wait for 5 more minutes and then we'll start. So, in the meantime, those of you who are already here, you can get maybe some paper or a notebook where you can, write or, do the activities that we have planned for today. So, just get some colors if you have sketch pens, papers, whatever that you would like. So, just get them and come back, and we will start in 5 minutes. Hi everyone, great to see you all joining in. We'll just start in a few minutes. In the meantime, those of you who already are here, just get some papers. If you would like, you can get some colors, sketch pens, and join back so that we can start. Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all can hear and see my screen. It would be great if you all can turn your cameras on as well. This is more of an experiential workshop where I would also want you to, participate and do the techniques and the activities that I have planned for today. And along with experiencing the activities, we are also going to discuss and learn some techniques. Of course, the ones that you would be experiencing also you can use with your clients. But in general, also, we are going to do that exploring with the clients as well. So it would be great if I can see you all. Thank you, Aditi. Okay. So, as counselors, what happens is that we often help our clients through their struggles, right? But today, what we're going to do, of course, we are going to learn skills on how to better help our clients. But aside from that, we are also exploring how we can enhance our own well being, right? Through positive psychology. So, while we are also learning the concept, we are also learning how to apply it in our own lives. Because as counselors, it can be very difficult and overwhelming to deal with clients and everything that they are going through. And it's hard sometimes, right? So, through positive psychology, we are going to try to understand it and have some techniques for ourselves and for our clients as well. So, positive psychology, a lot of people have this misconception that positive psychology is about, being positive and being happy all the time. But it's not that we are ignoring the difficulties, but we are rather focusing on intentionally trying to cultivate or work on our strengths, resilience, and hold on to certain meaning that we have. in terms of, different aspects in our life. So that is just a brief overview of positive psychology. So before we get into today's session, I would like the session to be interactive, like I said. So if you cannot unmute yourself and speak, I understand, but do use the chat box. And there are reactions also, I think, that you can use. I'm not sure. I cannot see the option, but if that's something that you can use, then please do that as well. Or else definitely put your thoughts in the chat box. So we are going to start with the very important thing, which is a feeling check in. So let's take a moment just to think of how you're feeling and quickly just put in your feeling in the chat box. Kritika, is there any reason why you're feeling scared? Would you like to share?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good.
Basically, why I'm feeling sad is because I have recently joined. It's my first job, and I'm scared because it's a new job, of course, and I want to do quality work. So I have put a lot of pressure on myself. So I'm scared because of that. That would I be able to step into someone else's shoes because I'm replacing someone else? And will everyone be nice to me? And if I will be able to justify my role? That's that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I am sure that you are determined into putting the hard work. So just focus on that, and that will definitely help you to see, the efforts. I mean, help others to notice how much effort you're putting in, and that will be enough. I think we all are scared. I won't tell you not to be scared, but that's me being irrational then. So it's okay to be scared, but know that you are going to put in your hard work, and in situations where you are stuck, maybe reach out for help and maybe do things for yourself where you can remind yourself of the strengths that you carry. Thank you so much for sharing that. What about the others? Aditi says content. How is everybody feeling? Okay, Monica is also giving a reaction. Just put in one word, any feeling that you are feeling right now. Satisfied, okay. Okay, I want to see one feeling word from at least each of you. So right now I'm feeling excited because I do have some activities planned, and I just want to, share them with you and see how you feel while doing those activities. Um, so yeah, Hina, thank you so much for joining in spite of you being tired. Monica says curious. Okay. Thank you everyone for sharing. Please go on, and those who haven't put in their feelings do so. So now let's move on to what basically like a brief overview of what positive psychology is. So before we do that, does anybody have any idea of what positive psychology includes, the key concepts? Do you know who started positive psychology? Anything?
I can't recall who started it, but then it focuses on building resources for the clients and creating happy moments, which will help as a resource, and it will um, build their thought action repertoires. So,
Mhm.
whenever they face crisis, it's easier for them to bounce back. They have more thought processes that will help them come out of the situation. They'll have more resources.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. Yes, Aditi.
I remember one thing, which is in positive psychology, they focus more on the strengths of the client more than the weaknesses, where
Hmm.
most of the psychology is all about disorders and symptoms and management of that. Positive
Yeah.
psychology focuses more on what you already can do better or
Hmm.
what you are good at.
Hmm. Yeah. Somebody else also raised their hand. Do you want to add something? I'm not sure who that was though.
Yeah,
Hi, Sudita.
is that it, hi.
Your
It's
voice
just
is
the focus.
breaking. We can't hear you clearly.
Okay.
Can you say something now?
How about now?
Yeah.
All right. So, in positive psychology, there's a shift of focus from problems to some sort of a solution. They usually speak about life above zero. That is, if they're getting their problem solved in therapy, what is beyond that?
Hmm.
Just because there are no problems doesn't necessarily mean that they're happy or satisfied.
Hmm.
So, positive psychology deals with that as
Okay. So, Seligman is the correct answer. I mean, it is the full name is Dr. Martin Seligman. So he's the person who started positive psychology. So to kind of give you an overview of it, these are some of the activities that we'd be doing. First, understanding the science of happiness and positive psychology, little overview of it. Then there are some activities that I have planned, and we will also talk about some activities that you can use with your clients simultaneously as well, kind of similar to the activity that we will be doing in the session. And of course, final takeaways. So, like I said, positive psychology, and like all of you said, is correct. It is a more strength based therapy where we are focusing on the strengths. So, it is rooted in something called the PERMA model. So basically, P stands for positive emotions. So we are trying to cultivate a sense of joy, gratitude, optimism, happiness in our clients. Then we are also talking about engagement. So, trying to do some sort of meaningful activities. So, you would see all of the activities that we do even today, and the activities that I will tell you that you can use with your clients, they are all some things where you need to actually do something. It's not just reflection, that is one aspect of it, but it's also something where you have to do the activity. It could either be writing or physically going somewhere and doing something. So some sense of activity, either reflection activity or physically doing the activity. So there's a lot of engagement. The next thing is relationships. We need to acknowledge the fact that as human beings, we all crave for a relationship, be it a friendship or a romantic relationship. We all need relationships to survive, right? To a certain extent, of course, we can survive by ourselves, but having a friendship or a good relationship definitely helps you with that support system and that extra push that you need on days where it's hard for you to remind yourself of these things. So, helping your clients build strong and supportive connections. And when somebody is going through a very difficult time, they struggle and they find it very hard to find the purpose in life. So, what happens here is that we are helping them to find that meaning, that purpose in life and accomplishment. So setting and achieving personal goals. So we are not just going to just do this in our head, I mean for our clients, but we are also going to help them to set goals and to have actionable steps which they can start achieving. So we are not just asking them to do a mindset shift, but we're actually going to also help them to have quantifiable goals that they're working towards, right? So that they can actually see the change. So this is the model, and this is like the core aspect of positive psychology. Aside from that, of course, while working on all of this, we are helping the client with resilience and growth. So helping them navigate through all of the different issues that they are having and still have this strength to continue or strength to push. Like there are days when you might be feeling extremely exhausted, extremely low, and might not want to do something. Positive psychology and its techniques can be something that you use in those moments. So it can remind you of all the times that you have already succeeded. And happiness as a skill. A lot of us think that it's very hard to achieve happiness, and sometimes people don't even know what happiness looks like for them. So if they don't know what happiness looks like, they might actually be happy, but then because they don't know what meaning they hold for happiness, they might not be able to acknowledge it. So helping them understand that happiness is a skill that they can learn, and they can do certain intentional practices to cultivate that sense of happiness. So, does anyone have any questions here? Anything that you would like to ask? Okay. So, what we're going to do now, we are going to do an activity which is called the strengths portrait. So, if you have some paper or anything in front of you, that's great. If not, then quickly just get something and come back. And if you want, you can do it with a lot of creativity, or you can just do write down whatever I'm asking. So it completely depends on you how you want to do it. There's no restriction on that. So basically, you have to draw or sketch or using a symbol represent your personal strength. So you can either represent one strength or multiple strengths. That's completely up to you. So let's say I want to show kindness, so I draw a heart and some things around it, so that I'm depicting kindness through that sketch. So it depends on you, whatever you want to do, however you want to present that. And I'll give you like 2 3 minutes to just draw, and once you're done, you can just just show it. And if you feel comfortable, you can share also what you have drawn. So while you are drawing that and while you are thinking about it, remember that okay, can you please repeat the instructions? Okay. So what you have to do is you have to draw, sketch, or using a symbol represent your personal strength. So I'm not saying that you should represent only one, you can represent multiple. So it will be like your strengths portrait, basically a drawing or a sketch of all of the strengths that you have. So let's say I want to depict kindness. So in my head, I think kindness. Okay, let me draw a heart. So I show kindness using a heart. So like that, you can think whatever comes to your mind. You can do that, and you can show it to me. Just raise your hand once, because there are quite a few of you, so I might not be able to see if you're just showing. Okay, so raise your hands, and then I'll make sure that I'm looking at your screen. Um, then while you're doing that, remember that this is something where you are trying to introspect and identify your strengths. What happens is that we are very quick to identify our weaknesses. And we very often, if when somebody asks, no, five weaknesses, five strengths, you can give like 10 weaknesses, but it's very hard for you to give even two strengths, right? So, a technique like this helps with those clients who are facing with issues of maybe, let's say, self confidence, or have a negative self perception. So we can use these techniques, this particular strengths portrait technique with them. And we can also use it with clients who are struggling with self esteem, depression, or major life changes. And so in the beginning, Kritika had said, right, that she's starting a new job and she's scared. So maybe this could be a good reminder of your strengths in this moment as well. And the objective of this is basically to understand and um, recognize and also celebrate your personal strengths. So as soon as you're done, you can just raise your hand and you can share whatever you've done. Yes. Yes, Kritika.
Hi, is it visible?
Yes, I can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, it's not a great drawing, but this is a heart. Like you said, it's for kindness. I am very compassionate and helpful, so I drew two hands that are
Hmm?
holding each other. I am also someone who learns a lot and keeps on upskilling herself, so that as a counselor, because we meet different clients, and I want to be available for them and well equipped, so I made specs, and I'm also very cautious of my actions. So
Hmm?
exclamation mark for that.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you don't have to be good at drawing or sketching. A lot of your clients might ask this question: I don't know how to draw. Do you think I should still do this technique? So explain it to them that it's not about me checking your drawing skills. And this technique is not for me, it's for you. It's for you to remind yourself of the strengths that you have. So when we do this for our clients, and right now that you are also doing it for yourself, you can also understand the kind of impact that this has on you, right? Because you're thinking and you're reminding yourself, "Ki, oh, I know this. Oh, I'm good at this." Things that we usually forget. Yes. Because of your background, I cannot see. Also, you're on mute.
Basically, I've drawn a box,
Hmm?
which is open, and I've written mind on it because this is one quality that I know that I've had since I was a kid, to have an open mind and to listen to people without any judgment.
Hmm?
So I thought I would write that more than anything, not in- or
Hmm?
listening to people, because I think this one encompasses most of it. When I
Yeah.
listen without any judgment or without saying a thing, and so it's just like a box. Can't
That's nice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I wouldn't have thought of showing it in that way. Interesting. What about the others? Still drawing? Would anybody else like to share? It's okay if you don't feel comfortable sharing, but I would like you to do the activity at least so that you understand the impact of it that it has on you. There are times when your strengths can also change. So doing this activity on a time to time basis can be a good reminder, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel like, nothing is going according to the plan and you feel stuck. Doing this will definitely help you remember of your own strengths. A lot of times we move towards others for help and support, but sometimes we have that within us and we don't realize. So this could be a good way to remind yourself of those things. If anybody else would like to share, they can do that. I am going to continue. You can just raise your hand and share that with me. So just to give you an overview, like I mentioned, another technique, you can just read it. It's kind of similar to what I said only. Another technique kind of similar to this strengths portrait, where you're asking them to draw. Instead of the drawing, we can also ask them to do a strength based journaling. If you see that there's a client who's very resistant and they're like, "Nahi, I don't draw. I'm too scared or I'm too intimidated by this and I don't want you to judge my drawings. I'm not going to do this." You can ask them to write, basically journal. So you can ask them to write about times where they use their strengths in the past week. So this can be a good reminder of, the growth that they have, or the on the spot thinking capacity they have. So this could be a good activity to do. Does anyone have any questions here? No? Okay. So there's another technique which is called happiness mask. So, what happens in this is that you're exploring your inner and outer emotions to build emotional resilience. So, what you need to do in this is basically you need to on a mask or a sheet of paper. So, you can draw a mask and you can write it within that, or you can write it on a plain sheet of paper also. So, what you need to do is, since the paper has two sides, right? The front of it and the back of it. So on the front side, it represents basically things that bring you joy. So it could be your hobbies, your values, your relationships, anything that makes you happy, right? And the back of it is your challenges or hidden emotions, things that you're scared of, things that you think hold you back. So if you want to do the activity now, you can do that. Or you can do it in your own time, maybe take some more time, think about it and add things, because here it might take a lot more time, right? Because you might not be able to think of everything right now. But this is a good activity to, be like, this is my inner emotions and these are my outer emotions. So you're not only looking at it from a surface level, but you're going deeper and trying to understand on a much deeper level. And while you are doing this activity, a reflection question to remind yourselves, and also if you're using it with a client, to ask them, is that what does this tell you about how your present self, and how is that different from what you truly feel? So sometimes we might have a picture of ourselves which might not be true. So using this technique, when we are understanding our innermost emotions, it will help us to be more aware of the things that we need to work on, that we might not think about on a day-to-day basis. So why does this technique work? It basically encourages emotional honesty. So you're starting to be honest with yourself. You might notice that initially it might be harder. So when I did this technique for the first time, I found it really hard to write about my innermost emotions. I was like, how do I understand what is my innermost emotions, right? But when you sit and you actually think about it and you give yourself that time, you are able to make note. And I always look at those innermost emotions as things that I need to work on. And that gives me a good direction and a good path to take it up. So it also helps me to, make kind of normalize my experience. Like in my head, it's a huge deal, right? That I'm feeling this. Like, let's say something bad happened to me and I'm feeling angry right now. So when I'm feeling angry on a day to day basis, I would just be like, oh, you shouldn't feel angry. This is not the right emotion. And might just, shut it out. But when I'm writing it down, I'm normalizing my anger. I'm expressing it in a way where I'm saying that it's okay for me to be angry. However, I need to work on it because this anger is now negatively impacting me. So it gives me a direction to follow rather than being self critical. So this is another exercise. And we can also do like a two-sided journaling where we ask the clients to write about what I show the world versus what I feel inside. So you can ask them to divide the page in half, or do it however creatively they want to. If you have offline sessions, it's really fun. You can give them a lot of paper, like different colorful papers, color sketch pens, and just be like, do it, this is your activity, make a mask. And it can be a very helpful exercise. But if you're doing it online, there are multiple ways in which you can make it more interesting. Like right now I've used this PPT and this different template. So maybe you can make like a template and you can share that link with your client and ask them to come on the link and edit it during the session, so they can type whatever they want. They can use the elements. So I've made this using Canva, right? So you can ask them to just click on the link and open that, and you can add them as a collaborator, so they can add the elements from there. They can use these things even though it's an offline session. So a lot of people think that offline session is restrictive. It is restrictive. You won't be able to do the things that you would in an offline session, but online may we can do similar activities, but we just need to change the way that we are doing it. So where I would give them paper, I'm giving them digital paper and digital resources to do it, right? So maybe you can try that. It will work very well. And give them time to do it by themselves. It's really fun. You can also do this and share it with them and tell them to do it over the weekend and come back. So there are a lot of different ways we can incorporate and make these activities fun for clients even though it's online. So that is a tip for you. I use Canva. You can use anything. There's no like think you have to use Canva only. How are you all feeling? We have talked about some exercises. We have talked about positive psychology and how it looks like. So, how is everybody doing? Are you um, learning something? Do you have some takeaways? Any questions? Anything
Uh,
that you want to share?
so I can already see that how I'm going to use the happiness mask with one client, where
Okay.
she has realized that she does a lot of people pleasing, where she's
Hmm.
a very silent, does not talk much, but then she tends to be more outgoing when she is outside with everyone. And she's noticed it during our sessions that she's not that person. Um, but when I asked her about her energy and how she feels about it, so
Hmm.
I feel like I can use this a lot with this with her to figure out who she really is and who she's not when she's outside.
Yeah, definitely you can. I'm glad that you are able to vision and see that, you actually have a case that you can use this situation with. I mean, this technique with. What about others? I hope you all are having some, Yes, these activities are very simple. So I've found simple activities because what happens is that if I notice that if I give very complex activities to my clients, they're like, Arey, we can't do this, we don't have enough time. So when I give them very simple activities, no, which can be done in the session itself, or even if I give them outside, they will be able to do it. So I try to always give those kind of techniques. So another thing that we can do, it's basically called creating a happiness toolkit. So here we were doing one specific technique, right? We are like this technique, you think about this and you do this, that kind of process, right? But now what we are going to do is create a happiness toolkit with a client who you notice that tends to be very overwhelmed, very upset, very anxious, sad, whatever. So you can give them, you can along with them help them to create a happiness toolkit. Is anyone aware of a grounding box? Everyone is aware of the grounding technique? Just quickly give a thumbs up if you know about the grounding technique. Okay, I see a couple of thumbs up. Okay. Yeah. So the grounding technique is basically a technique where you're using your senses and you're bringing yourself back in the present moment. So sight, hearing, smell, all those things. So grounding box basically means that in a box you're keeping all these different materials. So let's say I put um essential oil that has a very good smell. I put different types of textures. So I put like a silk ka chota sa cloth. I put like a soft handkerchief, and I put some sour gummies, or I put some sweet chocolates. Something, basically the same thing that we will observe outside in a box. So we put some things for each of the senses, and we are using that box to kind of ground ourselves. So a lot of people who have anxiety use that. So similar to that, we are helping our client to create a happiness toolbox or toolkit. So here we are going to give them with multiple activities. We are not going to leave them with only one activity. They themselves, and along with our help and support, of course, we are going to help them to identify multiple activities. So here what we can do is we can ask them to, let's say they say that I usually feel very stressed. I struggle to do self care. So these are the two concerns. I'm not talking about the issue, the circumstance, because that will take a lot more time and I want to be able to cover everything I have planned for today. So, in general overview types, I'm trying to explain. So, let's say they say stress, sadness. So, we are going to, whatever feeling that they say, we can ask them to pick any three go to activities that they can do when they are having that feeling. So, let's say whenever there's stress, you do um nature walk. So you just go out in the nature and you do a quick 10-minute walk and come back. Maybe deep breathing exercise or some sort of physical activity based on their preference. We are not telling them that you should do this, you should do that. We are just telling them that pick any three go to activities when you are feeling this feeling. So the moment you notice that you are starting, I'm sorry, my current has gone off. I hope you all can hear me. I don't think you can see me though.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Um, I'm just going to turn my camera off. This looks weird. Okay, it's back. Okay. Yeah, so depending on whatever the feeling is, we are going to give them these three go-to activities. So any moment that they are feeling this feeling, they try to push themselves to do these different activities. So here, what we are doing is we are helping them to shift their thoughts from that overwhelming feeling to this positive activity that will help them to calm down in that moment. Here, we don't mean that we are going to avoid talking about this difficult feeling. Here, we only mean that in the moment, we are going to try to come back to a neutral point and then we are going to explore the feeling. Because imagine if you're very stressed, do you think you would logically be able to think of anything? Your brain is not going to function, right? So, in that moment, it is very important for us to calm down first before thinking of what to do. So hence these three go-to activities. I'm just saying three, you can give four, five, whatever. Then let's say they have issues with self-care, right? So now you've done this technique and any one self-care ritual that they can submit to doing every single day. It can be a 2-minute thing, it can be a 1-minute thing, doesn't matter. But one self-care ritual that they can do for themselves and a positive affirmation. So, a lot of counselors use the positive affirmations that are available online. It is helpful, but it's not personal to the client. So they might be like, "अरे ये क्या बुलवा रही है या क्या बुलवा रहा है?" So the client might not be able to connect to that affirmation. So what I would suggest, anytime you're using an affirmation, always try to help the client to personalize it to their issue. So let's say I am thinking that I am incapable of achieving great things. So my affirmation would be, I am strong, I am capable of achieving great things or putting in the effort. And it's okay if I don't achieve everything. I can still put in the effort and know that I'm strong. Something which is very personal to me. So when I'm saying this affirmation, when I'm reminding myself of this, it actually makes sense to me and I'll actually be happy having that reminder rather than I am safe, I am happy, I am capable. It won't make much sense to me if it's, something of the internet. So this is something that we can do. So I hope that you can help your clients with this. Another thing, why does it work is because it helps the clients to take ownership of their emotional well-being and encourages small and realistic actions. Here we're not telling them to do like life-changing things. It's just small activities, even if it's a 5-minute thing, rather than making these big changes. And what happens is that when we are constantly doing these small tasks and we're intentionally changing this difficult feeling with this positive behavior, it changes our way of looking at things. And no matter how difficult the situation is, your mind would immediately think, "Ki, okay, in this moment, how can I calm down?" Once you're calm, you start thinking about how to deal with it. So that's a much better way to go about it. And there are some additional techniques that we can use. Savoring exercise. So basically asking the clients to pause and fully experience positive moments. So let's say a client, enjoys eating some dessert or an ice cream. So you can ask them to, mindfully enjoy that meal. Maybe think of how they are feeling while eating that, think about the textures, think about the place if they are going outside and eating, think about who they are sharing this meal with. So mindfully being present in that moment. If somebody likes the outdoors, we can ask them to go out and just experience how the wind feels on against their skin, how does the sun feel, how do they feel being outside. So all of these small things we can help them with. Another thing is a gratitude letter that we might already be aware of, right? So having a client write letters to someone who has positively impacted their life. I have done this technique. We had done this as part of group therapy. And when we were writing this gratitude letter, I was like, uh, struggling to think what I would write for certain people. Um, because you don't understand or you don't notice the small things that this person has helped you with, right? It was a little hard to do it for some people. But when I actually sat down to thinking, I realized that there are a lot of small things that this person does that I don't acknowledge. So sometimes, doing that as well reminds you of the people you have in your life. So when I was writing that letter, I realized that, oh, these people actually support me, or these people have actually been there for me when I have had difficult times. So that gratitude letter is was really helpful for me to know the kind of support that I have received from my friends and family around me. Another thing, you can also change this gratitude letter to yourself. Like, you can ask your client to write a gratitude letter to themselves. So you can basically change it and make it a different version of the same technique only. So here you can ask them to write a letter to themselves saying all of the things that they are grateful for. So, you can, some clients might write that, I'm grateful for you for sticking by me. So think of yourself as a third person and write the letter in that way. So that can also be a good technique. Another thing is three good things exercise. So ask your client to reflect on three things that went well for them, kind of like a gratitude exercise only. And just make note of that. So what will happen is that even though their life might be hard, they will still try to find at least three good things in their life. So again, giving them that hope. Any questions? These techniques are very simple, so I don't think you would have any questions, but just checking anyway. Okay. So the other technique is called the ripple effect of kindness. I mean, you can call it whatever you want. It's just fancy names for the techniques that I like to give so that, your client also feels like, oh, this is a very interesting activity. I should try this. Kind of engages the client. So, what happens in this particular technique is that you are understanding the impact of kindness on happiness. So, how kindness plays a role in how happy you feel. So, what you can do is you can ask the client to write one small act of kindness that they have done recently. And how did it make them feel? How did the other person respond? And how did that create a ripple effect? Basically, if I'm being kind to you, if I say, hi Aditi, thank you so much for being on camera, it really encouraged me. So now when I am saying this to you, you are feeling happy, or you'll be like, oh, thank you so much for appreciating me, right? And now because you are feeling happy, now you will think, oh, maybe I should pass on this happiness to somebody else. Without even realizing, you will be in a good mood and you will pass on the happiness to somebody else. So because of one small act of kindness, it starts a ripple effect and it keeps passing on to different people. So this will kind of increase the serotonin and the happiness level in both the person who is giving this and the person who's receiving it as well. And it helps clients dealing with isolation, low self-worth, depression, and also connect with people that they have lost connection with. I had one client who had very low self-esteem and was very isolated. He says that he does not have any friends at all. And he came up with this thing by himself, that I'm going to write one positive thought on a sticky note or piece of paper, and I'm going to give it to random people. So when he used to travel by metro, he used to travel by whatever bus or something, he would just randomly s- ask the person that would be okay if I give you this. And some people would take it and they would be like, wow, thank you so much, so nice, I'm so happy that you gave this to me, and I'll remember this, I'll hold on to this. And then there are also some people who's like no, no, not interested, because they didn't know what he was trying to do. But he said that he did not think of those people who said no to him. He was more focused on the people who said yes, and the people who smiled and acknowledged his this small effort. So even that small activity that he did, it played a huge role on how he felt. So sometimes it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be very small techniques as well that can, instantly uplift your mood. So, kind of adding on to this, you can ask your clients to take it up as a challenge. So, just do random acts of kindness. Do at least one small act of kindness. So, it doesn't have to be towards a person. Maybe you're walking on the road and you see a small dog, a puppy, or you see a dog. You can just buy biscuits and give it to the dog if you're somebody who likes animals, of course. So even that can be a small act of kindness. And what that dog is going to do, the dog is going to be so happy, he's going to wag their tail, and they're going to greet you every time you cross that street. So I have dogs of my own and I really like dogs. So sometimes when I'm walking and I see some puppy or some dog like this, so I'll buy biscuits and give them. So now when I go on the road, all of these dogs like literally run and come to me. It makes me so happy. Sometimes I'm just like so done, so exhausted, and I'm just, going to the shop to buy something. And I see this like 4 or 5 dogs running towards me, and they're so happy and they're jumping. It just instantly changes the way I feel. And even though they are not actually using words, but their behavior itself, makes so much of an impact on how I'm feeling. So if you're somebody who likes animals, you can even, or if your client, you know that your client likes animals, so you can even encourage them to do things like that. And then a kindness jar, so help your client to write kind things that they do on slips of paper and add them to the jar, and they can revisit them whenever they feel sad or overwhelmed. Hmm. I'll just give you a minute to go through the slide. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that you would like to ask? Okay. So I do have a few more techniques that we will discuss. Um, so I'll just take you through that. Yeah. So these are just some more activities that you can use aside from the ones that we've already discussed. So, the peak exercise journal, basically, you're going to help your clients to identify some moments where they have actually been able to do something that has made them very happy, and kind of remind themselves of that. So, ask your clients to recall a time, any positive time where, they were able to experience joy, or experience that, I've accomplished some things, or a situation where they have felt truly alive. And we can ask them questions to help them to describe that event in detail. So where were they, what were they doing, who all was present, what emotions did they experience. So why are we asking these questions? What do you think? What is the need to ask these questions? Where were you, what were you doing, who was involved? Why do you think these questions are relevant? Yes.
To make it very vivid for them. Like they can visualize it better.
Ha, make it vivid for them. Yeah, it is one of the reasons. Would anybody else like to add something? So, if you notice, the questions are asking where were you? What were you doing? Who all was present? What emotions did you experience? So, when we are asking where were they, we're trying to understand if the environment was something that played a role. Who were along with them? So, kind of understanding who are the people who are making them feel happy so that they can identify and spend more time with these people who all what emotions did they experience can help them identify what are some other emotions that they experience when they are feeling happy. So sometimes we might not be able to achieve happiness all the time, but we can still achieve those emotions which will help us feel happy. Like, let's say, when I complete all my work, I feel satisfied, and when I feel satisfied, that eventually leads to a sense of happiness, right? So I may not be able to be like, I want to feel happy today, but if I finish my task and be satisfied, I'm eventually going to feel happy. So by understanding the alternate emotions, you can help them to achieve the sense of happiness as well. So that is why. And what were they doing? It can be an activity that they like for example, the time, like I have this app where I record my feelings and they ask these kind of questions only. What were you doing? Who all was present there? So when I choose the options, no, at the end of the week it comes like a summary kind of thing, and I notice that I'm the happiest when my dogs are around and when my family, like certain people like friends, those people are around. So you will notice the impact that somebody else has on you. So um you'll know ki, okay, I need to spend more time with this person because they are positively impacting me. I need to spend less time with this person because they're making me feel more stressed. And sometimes we might not be able to avoid these people. Let's say we have a very overwhelming job and our teammate or manager or somebody like that is this person who's causing us anxiety. So we cannot run away from that, right? We have to show up for our job. So in that situation, what we can do is we can understand who are the other people who help us, who are the other, what is the other things that we can do to kind of help ourselves. So we, even though we can't get out of that situation, we understand these alternate things that we can rely on. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Future best self visualization. So describe yourself 5 years from now, living your best, happiest life. So how does your daily routine look like? What qualities do you have? What relationships you have? You can ask them to write a letter about your future self, offering encouragement, or you can ask them to verbalize it as well. That kind of affects the motivation and the resilience, focusing on the possibility, right? Like, right now maybe I don't have these qualities, but it's something that I can definitely achieve. Another thing is awe walk. So basically just doing a 10 to 15 mindful walk, noticing something very inspiring. When we go outside, we don't really notice these small things, but when you're consciously doing that, you can see small small things. Maybe the way the clouds are moving. So whenever I go to the terrace, I always focus on the clouds because I like to see the different movements. And I live in Bangalore, so Bangalore sunsets are like very pretty. They're like different colors and all that. So it's very fun to, go and view the sunset. And I'm noticing all the different colors and the clouds, and that instantly makes me feel happy. So if somebody is likes nature and likes to spend time, we can suggest these activities to them. And it also helps them to be grateful of, small things that we don't acknowledge. And this is the last technique that we have for today, is the reverse bucket list. So instead of future goals, list amazing things that you've already completed. So for a lot of people, if we ask no future goal, they're like, I don't know, and they start panicking. So instead of doing that, we are asking them things that they have already accomplished. So reflect on what strengths helped you to complete that. and how can you use them in these new challenges that you are thinking, or that might come up in your way. So this kind of builds confidence and self-worth by focusing on the past success. So you don't have to convince yourself, it is facts, you just have to remind yourself of them. So, yeah, these were some techniques. I hope that you were able to, do some of them yourself and also have a lot of tools to use with your clients. Um, Before we wrap up for today, and we just have a few minutes, I would like to know, your takeaway from the session. If you would like to share at least one thing that you have learned or would take away, either for yourself or your clients, whatever.
Well, there are many. I would also like to do the mask activity when I'm alone and I have proper art supplies because I would like to be creative.
Yeah.
And there are so many activities that I thought that I would be able to use it in my class because I'm a school counselor and I'll be
Okay.
able to make use of that. All the
Yes.
activities are very doable, very student friendly as well. So I think I will, I'm very grateful to you. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
I'm glad that you were able to do that. And you should definitely do the mask activity. I mean, I've tried it myself and it does help me to identify what are some things that I do work on. And if I am able to do it very well, I put it as a reminder on, like, my wall. So you can do that. Maybe you can make it in two different pages so that you can stick it. एक में करोगे तो you won't be able to stick it.
Sure, ma'am.
What about the others? Yes, sir.
I can already see which ones I can use for what kind of clients that I already have. Like I just had one session right now at 6 o'clock,
Hmm.
and that client tends to have a lot of low self-esteem, and I can see a lot of dependent PDK traits. So
Hmm.
she has a lot of low confidence, and she feels I can't make decisions. I've not done anything in my life, and I can see I
Hmm.
can use the reverse bucket list with her to remind her. So what I was doing today as well. Like you have taken decisions, you have taken like simple things like what I want to eat, and she's like, "Arey, huh, I didn't think about it like that." So
Hmm.
I can see so many of these techniques I can use. Oh, I can use it with this one. That's all I was thinking of constantly during the workshop.
Who I can use these techniques with. I'm glad. Thank you so much for sharing. What about the others? How are you all feeling? If you can't unmute yourself, use the chat box, put in your thoughts. That would be really helpful.
Ma'am, I think I'll leave because I have a session at 8, and I think my client is waiting on hold for me.
Sure, no problem. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
joining.
thank you so much for doing this. This
No
was
problem.
really really helpful.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining. This is just a quick quote that I would like to end with.